What do you do when you can't get your message to sound right? Well, our guest, Salathiel Reagan, reveals how to fix this with the right voiceover pro. Welcome to the Radiant Business Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Ross. Terry Cleary can't be with us for this episode, but we have a great guest, Salathiel Reagan, who's a fellow voice actor, who will be talking more about voice acting and how to use it in your business today.
Hello.
So, first of all, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. So I am a full-time professional voice actor. Been doing this about 3 years now. Done a lot of things, man. A lot of jobs, a lot of different experiences, which I think all kind of folds into it. A lot of it for me, I tell the story. It was a pivot. You know, when COVID happened, the world changed for a lot of people. And for me, I was a therapist, and I went from seeing 30 people a week to 9 people a week, 8 people a week.
Yeah.
So it really changed the dynamic of my funds, you know. Plus, I got 5 kids, man. So it's like, I had real world stuff to deal with. So I pivoted to voice acting. It's something I'd always, was interested in, but it was more like, sure, no way could I really make money at that. That's why I have student loans, right? Yeah. That's why I went to graduate school, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was something that I'd always heard about and thought of, and playing different characters, and then the acting aspect of it, and then just the being able to connect the message with the audience and that kind of stuff. It just really drew me, and so I went to voice acting school during COVID, and it was perfect because while I was locked down, I just had all this time to really pour into the material and practice, set up my home studio, and really just kind of build that skill and efficacy. And over the years, I've just gotten, I've incrementally improved.
Yeah, for sure. And
so,
COVID really forced a lot of business owners and people to pivot. I was working with natural health care providers going into COVID, and a lot of them shut down, and suddenly my business went from rapidly growing to suddenly half dead. And suddenly I was having to figure out new people to do business with that weren't as affected by COVID, and experimenting with a few different markets until I finally found one that stuck, which for me was working, switching into working more with coaches and consultants,
mm-hmm.
and helping them to grow their business, especially given all the pivots everyone was needing to make. There are a lot of businesses and business owners in more need than ever of coaches and consultants to help them sort through all the mess.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
So my background is I've been in digital marketing for over 11 years now. I've been working with small to medium businesses is my specialization, helping them with high conversion websites and SEO, and making sure that they're able to connect with their customers. And that's how me and Salathiel connected. Is I actually did one of those conversion reports for him and then implemented it on his brand new website.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, it's I think, and the reason why we're here, we're kind of talking about that marketing aspect of it. There's the big question, do you need a website? And I find that in my field, I think it only helps you. It only lends to your legitimacy. It's a way for people to really see what you do without having to go through the whole process of trying to call you or wait for you to email back to them. They can get on my website, listen to my demos. They can read biography about me. They can message. I mean, there's so much, that website.
Yeah, and with a well-made website, it also helps with discoverability. And you've mentioned that even without doing any particular marketing with your website, you've already gotten a few, auditions from your website.
Yeah. I'd say definitely within like 2 weeks, I had 3 hits. They, I can't say if any of them actually led to a job yet, but I go back to it. You got to get them. You got to get out there to get them. You know what I'm saying? So it's about increasing your opportunities, and I think it's that passive kind of marketing stream where people can kind of check it out without me having to do anything. You do all the work up front and you maintain it. But, someone can go to my website right now while we're doing this and listen to demos. I don't have to send them to them. So it's pretty nice. And again, I think, for me, at least, I feel like it's a good way in the voiceover industry, especially for people to see who you are behind the voice, too. It's not just about your demos. There's also other information on there about you. And I think it's pretty cool. And it's curated nice. It's succinct.
Yeah, for sure. And we've actually had many conversations during the course since I met you, and in the course of figure out when we get your website project started and working through it on the importance of having a good voiceover professional when your business needs to do any kind of speaking, whether it's in video or anything like that, whether you're running an ad, training video, informational video, anything like that to educate your customer base or your employees or anything like that. So maybe start with talking a little bit about some of the pitfalls you've encountered with businesses you've worked with when they try to, do it, in-house or do it, or DIY the voiceover.
Yeah. No, I will say I don't have any statistics to show you, but I know that there is a statistic out there about how having a voice actor versus an AI voice or just Bob from accounting doing the voiceover for your promo video, and you get more success with the professional voice actor. I say it all the time, and this is what I heard in voice acting school. You have to be trained to sound natural. And so nobody wants to feel like you're just reading to them. And if my focus is on reading the words and not emoting, then, you know what I mean? It doesn't really land and it can sound really flat. And so I've had, all kinds of stuff from, like you said, promo ads. I've had, company training videos, for their employee benefits and enrollment videos and stuff like that. And they'll send me their scratch tracks that either they composed with AI or the, Bob from accounting did it. Yeah. And I'm not going to say it sounds terrible, nothing against Bob, you know what I mean? But there's a reason why he's an accountant. But the AI, you can just tell it just sounds off. And then I think it's people, the message itself gets lost, I think, in the words when you don't have someone that can really tease that scripted part. That was a lot of what we did was before you actually read the words, it's analyzing the script. It's who am I? Why is this person listening to me? What kind of authority do I have on this knowledge? Am I the neighbor talking to you, or am I your teacher? Am I talking to my son, or am I talking to my best friend at work, or am I talking to my martial arts instructor?
Or are you the expert who's making sure people can hear it from someone that they trust to know what they're talking about?
Exactly. And it's funny because nowadays you get a lot of the believable conversational read is what a lot of people want. The next door neighbor, they want that casual kind of tone. But again, it's tricky because you don't want to be too casual. You're not talking to your homies. You know what I'm saying? You got to have, there's that line you have to toe where you're reading the words and you're staying true to the script, but you can put your own kind of style on it. And once again, when you're just in your head about what you want your company's ad to say, it's different than when you have someone else, bring it to life. Yeah, I would say.
And that's interesting that you bring that up about that someone can get, let's say if you're going for casual, they can get too casual. Because that comes into something we were talking about yesterday in one of our meetings about how the untrained person who hasn't been trained how to sound natural on the mic can start overacting.
Yeah.
And you've probably seen that in a movie that has bad acting in it, where everyone's terribly overacting and it comes across as very corny and cheesy or campy. And it can be anything from so bad it's good to just plain bad.
It's terrible. Yeah. Totally. And I think, again, I think it's the same in voice acting. If not, I don't want to say more so, but sure, maybe I'll go out on a limb. I'll say more so in the sense that I can't sell the emotion with my face. If I'm not on camera, so I can't show you the pain in my eyes, the tears rolling down my cheeks. I have to produce that through my voice, and again, that takes some training. I mean, you got to hone your craft. It takes training.
Yeah, to hit the right mark without over or undershooting.
Yes. And I think, too, along with that, to kind of segue, I think part of that comes from when you work with a voice actor and you can actually go through the script with them and tell them what you're feeling and tell them how, you want this to come across. This section of the script, we want more of an inspirational tone. This section, we want you to sound bold and confident. You can really hone it in and dial it in and you fine tune it to really what you want it to be. And, that's one of my favorite things is when people are like, oh man, you nailed it. You knocked it out of the park. Or when I add something new to the script that they didn't expect, a slight pause or an emphasis on a word where they were like, oh, I never thought about it being read like that before. I like that. Do it again. You know what I mean? So that's happened before. Or I'll just, again, you got to be, I think, authenticity is really where it's at.
Yeah, and this is really starting to branch into another one of the things we're wanting to talk about, which is the benefits of working with a professional. And you've already defined some of them. So, right there. So, how about expanding upon that? What are some of the benefits that, especially feedback you've gotten from your customers that you're able to share for the benefits they've gotten from working with you that you could generalize into how it helps with businesses in general?
Yeah, totally. Well, the one example that immediately comes to mind, worked, and again, I don't know how much I can say with NDAs and stuff, but I'll speak in generalities. But I worked with a city, and it was like the mayor's office, and basically I did this video about this part of the city and how it's this historical part, and it's so it's tied to the community, and it was it was a kind of a proud piece, an emotional piece, but it was really. It showed the diversity and just the joy and the beauty of the people in the city. And the dude told me, the intermediary I was working with, he said when he played the final version for the mayor, she cried. And I was like, that, you know what I mean? That just really, it meant so much to me. That was amazing, And he was just like, yeah, just you really brought it to life in a way that we couldn't have imagined,
Wow.
So I have had that happen. And I've had people say things like, yeah, no, I did one about, it was a medical explainer kind of thing. Just, a lot of medical terminology. And one of the producers, and it was funny, but it was cool to hear. They were like, wow, I could hear you talk about medical equipment all day. So, they were like, you just bring this richness and this smoothness to it. Yeah. One of my contacts that works in another country, she was like, your voice has a texture to it that a lot of people in the industry don't have. So I go back to that too. It's like when you really find that voice that speaks to your brand and really embodies that message, you get so much more out of it. I think as a company, as someone that's trying to promote your services, so to speak. So yeah,
that is an interesting point. Is every different voice actor is going to have their own unique quality to their voice that you can't replicate with anyone else.
Yeah.
That's why you audition, is so that you can make sure that you match that right quality to the right piece.
Oh yeah. I think we talked about this before. I always say, you don't know what you want until you hear it.
Yeah.
So they might have in their mind, I want a Morgan Freeman type of voice, and I'm obviously not Morgan Freeman. I'm not going to try to be Morgan Freeman either. That's that dude, He's cool. I like Morgan Freeman, shout out Morgan Freeman, but I got to be me, and again, I think that authenticity is where it's at. And with the training, you get the confidence to be authentic as opposed to being performative. And I think that's what a lot of people try to do, is perform the script as opposed to like embody it, bringing it to life.
And and in this case, if you want that unique Salathiel Reagan voice, you better call Sam.
You said it. I see what you did there. I like that. I like that. Definitely.
That beat had to come.
Yeah.
This podcast episode would not be complete without it.
And maybe we should put that on the website somewhere,
as long as we avoid any trademark violations or anything.
Yes. One should avoid those if one can. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things you talked about earlier in this call is the steps it took for you to actually hone your craft. So maybe talk a little bit more about that, because especially business owners might not always fully appreciate how much work goes into a trained professional with the voice. And they think, well, voice acting is just talking, right? Anyone can talk.
Right. Yeah. No, it's something I encounter a lot, people will be like, oh yeah, I could get paid to read. Again, nobody wants to feel like they're being read to. So for me, it was, I went to voice acting school, and it was like going to college again. I spent 10 years in college. I've got 3 degrees. So I know what spending time in college is like, but it was different in the sense that, I had classes each week. I had an hour, session with my voice acting coach. I had homework due every week. I had master classes on Saturdays from like 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I had workshops. I had social media marketing classes, which kind of ties into why I chose the school I went to and everything, is because it was really set up to get you. You're not just a guy with a microphone. You are a business owner that is providing a service to other businesses. And in order to do that, you have to have those 3 hats that I talked about before. You have to have the skill as a voice actor, right? You got to get trained. You have to have the skill as an engineer. Not necessarily are you out here, editing scores for movies, but I know what to do to edit my own voice for a project, and what that takes and how long it takes. Is the difference between audiobooks and, promos or whatever, character work. There's all these different types, but I can edit me. If someone else gave me their files, I may not do as well, but I had to be trained, and I had to learn how I sound naturally.
In other words, the first pillar is you need to, first of all, have the professional skills to be able to do your job. And second, know how to use your tools, which in your case is the microphone and the recording equipment, to make sure it's producing your voice in the best light possible and creating the sound that you're intending for it to create.
Totally. And speaking of equipment, there's hundreds of different types of microphones out there. And there's all kind of YouTube videos you can watch about what's the best mic. And it really depends on your voice and the work you're doing. If you're primarily doing audiobook work, you might not want, a shotgun mic. You know what I mean? You might want something different. And again, depending on your voice.
You might want a mic more similar to what I have.
Right. So again, it's my coach used to say that. He's like, yeah, you can get the $10,000 mic, but you might sound like crap because it may highlight all the things you're doing wrong.
Or you might get that mic and find you blew all your money on buying your tools. You don't have any money left to market and promote. And
right.
Which is another pillar of any business, is the ability to sell your service. Because if you can't sell, you have no service to perform.
Yes. Yep. And so along those lines, that was the third hat we had to wear, was as a business owner, as a marketing, a marketing exec, if you will, learning how to, promote your business, engage in business. And there were, again, I had social media marketing classes, and we had a lady. She was amazing. She worked in marketing for like 30 years. And then she became a voice actor because she likes to travel and stuff. So she's like, I want to have a job where I can go where I want, when I want, and do what I want. And I was like, me too. So, but again, so we had classes on marketing and, building your website and all the things you need to pay attention to. And again, a lot of that led me to you. and it was that whole balance between what you can afford to do and what is essential for you to do. And then as you improve in skill, you can improve those other things. And so I had the website built, friend of a friend style, and just to get something out there. And I'd say, I got some hits. I had people looking, contacting me through it, but I would say overwhelming amount, but I think it helped. I really do feel like it helped, because I did 2 years as a voice actor, and I'd say this last year has been it's been amazing, but it's been and that's when I got the website. It's so I'm being a little I'm talking across purpose here, I guess, but to go back to that, having that website to market your talent, to market your ability, it's just part of the world now. You can not want to do it all you want, but even if you just get a website up there that just has a couple demos, you look more legitimate as a business provider. Now you don't look like just some guy with a microphone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It used to be that you start up a business, you get your business listing in the phone book. Well, people have broken away from using those paper phone books for the most part. Mm-hmm. So what's the current phone book is, search engines. And your website is your entry on that search engine if you have a website. Or an online presence. That's how people can find you.
Yes.
What's the difference between a phone book and a search engine? You have control, you have influence over where you are in the list. In a phone book, it's alphabetical. The only control you have would be to pick a business whose name starts with the letter A or the letter Z. Right. So you're at the beginning or the end of the list where people are most likely to see you.
That's why there's all those A1 companies, right? A1 and ABC and yeah.
Or start with a number.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
But
it's that even down to the marketing of, the name for your website, can be something to, I went with Voice of Salathiel because I felt like it flowed well, and it also it's simple. You know what I do. You know what I'm saying? But I could be which is XGT Enterprises, but nobody knows.
It's not going to hit the right keyword.
Yeah. Now, and again, I'll admit, I think I get a lot of success because my name's Salathiel. That's unusual. People remember it. They say it a couple times, whereas if my name was Bob, voice of Bob, I don't know. That could still stand out, though.
Yeah. Then your last name is Reagan, which is both associated with a famous actor and very presidential.
Yeah, it's true, too. Yeah.
Old school presidential.
Yeah. So once again, even that kind of plays into the marketing, what you name your website, and it's been a learning curve, surely, because I'm more of a creative, my first degree was in art, I have a fine arts degree, and I like to create, I like to draw, I like to play, I like to, especially with the voice now is something that I really love doing. So like a lot of the technical aspect of things isn't my forte. So I don't do my own oil changes. Yeah, maybe I should, but I'm doing an audiobook. You know what I'm saying? I don't work on my own teeth.
I guess what is the opportunity cost, to borrow economic terms, of doing your own oil change? And now you're not available to do the work you get paid for, versus hiring an auto mechanic who's good at doing that. That's what they do all day, every day. They've gone to school for years to get trained in that and have years of experience doing it. Yeah. So that you can continue getting paid to do voiceover work, which is going to be the lesser of the two costs in the long run.
Right. Yeah. And you got to kind of decide where your efforts are best spent. And again, I know enough, but it's back to that trial and error, and I'm still learning. And of course, nothing I do is perfect, and that's not what I'm going for. But we talked about this before, right? Complete is better than perfect. Yep. So having a complete website that is that does what I need it to do right now is great. Yep. And I think as
the saying goes, don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Yeah, it's a great saying. Yeah, and also look at it too, like, and I'm not comparing myself to these people, but like Denzel Washington, I don't see him working on his own website. I'm just saying, maybe he does, but I don't see Denzel on Squarespace moving, pages around. I can't picture it. I don't think Chris Hemsworth, you know what I'm saying? He might manage his content in the sense of, I like that pick. I don't like that pick. But I mean, come on.
He'll make approvals, give final decisions on things, but no, a successful person does what they love to do the most and what they're best at doing, and then hires other people to do the rest.
Yeah. And
that's probably one of the biggest. That's probably one of the biggest fallacies I encounter in among business owners is the fallacy of, if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. Mm-hmm. No, if you want it done right, you have to give people that are doing it the right systems to work with, and find the person who knows how to do it right, and delegate it to them.
Yeah.
But there are times when you're just starting out where you might have to wear all the hats and do it all yourself, simply because you don't have the systems in place yet. You don't have the resources to hire the right people yet. You don't know the right people yet. So in the meanwhile, as the saying goes, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. You have to do what you have to do until you can afford to, find the better way to do it.
Yeah. There's an anecdote about a guy who's, and I guess it's back in the day, so you got to imagine, you got to go with me back in the day. But basically, he his heater's broken, and he calls the guy to come fix his heater, and it's like $600, and he's kind of upset. He doesn't want to spend $600 to fix his heater, but he doesn't know how to do it. So he gets the guy to come over, and the guy looks at the heater, and he turns one screw, and he's like, "Got to be $600." And the guy's like, "I paid you $600 to turn a screw," and he's like, "No, you paid me $5 to turn the screw. You paid me $595 to know which screw to turn." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and again, a man's got to know his limits. I know I can't be good at everything. I'm good at a lot of things. Okay, maybe I'm good at one or two things, but I'm not good at everything.
Yeah.
And I look at a lot of people that are successful. They surround themselves with a team of professionals. They surround themselves with people that are good at what they do,
and their power team.
Yeah, and they're people that they can trust. And so, you know what I mean? I can trust that the job's going to get done the way I want it to get done. So when you talk about, if you want it done right, do it yourself, only in the sense that make sure you yourself talk to the people that are giving you your service. You yourself shop for the people. You know what I mean? You yourself spend that time.
Or that you've documented the system that you want the people doing it to work
right.
with. You've created that sales plan, that marketing plan, or that documented process. And now you don't have to even necessarily spend the time telling you just hand them the book, say, here's the systems, work the system.
Yeah. And it's, I think, part of selling your business. I don't want to say selling your business, selling yourself, but in the sense of trying to get interest in what you do. That website is what most people are going to go to first. Most people are going to look you up online. They're going to go to Google. They're going to go to YouTube. They're going to look you up online.
Or they're going to stumble across you on social media.
Right.
And then eventually they're going to want to take a look at your website to find out more detailed information about you than what they can get on an X post or a LinkedIn, profile.
Yeah, totally. Do you want to shift gears and talk some about the character target audience in order to deliver that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because that is, definitely a very important thing. As a marketing person, I can vouch for that. It is critical that you understand your target market and who your audience is to make sure you're delivering the right message in the right way. And that actually reminds me of something I was going to mention earlier in the podcast, to go something you were saying a little bit ago. That's that when we were talking about websites, that's, That's a web developer will make your website work. A web designer will make it look good. A marketer will make it sell. And a good voiceover person will make it sound right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, I like that. Definitely. Yeah. And again, I think along with knowing your target audience, that goes back to, one of the first things we learned in school was breaking down, that's the script, the material. This ad, you're not just out here trying to sell something to somebody. Your job is to connect with people. Your job is to understand the emotion in that script, understand the shift changes in that emotion. You might start off bold and get to, mysterious, or you might start off introspective, and you know what I mean, or start off depressing and sad and then come out hopeful. So, being able to understand those shifts in emotion and connect to that. And you have to have some kind of personal connection to the script. Like if the script's about Coca-Cola and you hate Coca-Cola, well, imagine it's about Sprite. You know what I'm saying? And so, so you have that emotional engagement. I mentioned before, for me, I think what sets me apart as a voice actor is I spent 23 years working in mental health. I spent 15 years in private practice as a licensed therapist, going through these things with people, having these personal, deep conversations with people about all kinds of stuff. And it came up recently. I did it was a PSA about alcohol use and diabetes. And, after the first couple reads, I stopped to get some feedback, and the producer was like, wow, you really brought the emotion in that. I felt it. He was like, I felt it. He's like, you really emotionally connected with that script. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those were your words. And I was like, well, I mean, I've literally had that conversation with someone that was struggling with alcohol use and diabetes at the same time. So it helped me to really get into that headspace to emotionally connect it. And I'm not just talking at people, I'm connecting the emotion to the message, So that's, I think, what it is too, is it's not just about, I think when you connect with people, then the rest is easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, right, man.
Awesome. It was incredible having you on here for this episode. There's great insights on how to incorporate voice into your business practices and into your marketing strategies, and to do it the right way and avoid the common pitfalls that people run into, such as trying to DIY and not being able to get that professional quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to work with the wrong person, not undervaluing the amount of training and effort it goes into being able to get your voice to sound natural, to create that emotional connection, and really bring a message to life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So
I appreciate you having me, man.
Can you tell people how they can get a hold of you in case they have a message they want to bring to life?
Sure thing. Yeah.
How can they call Sal?
Yeah. You can go to the website, www.voiceofsalathiel.com. You could also hit me on Gmail, voiceofsalathiel@gmail. And then voiceofsalathiel@yahoo.com is another one too. You can message me. But I'd say definitely check out the website, man. Let me know what you think. If there's thoughts on how I can improve. Again, I accept criticism. That's how I get better. So if you see something on there you want to see, let me know. Send me a message, drop a line just to say, hey, definitely, even if I'm not the right fit for a project at the time, I know a ton of voice actors as well. So I can also send people, refer you to someone else. And it's part of our training too. We know we get it. We don't, I don't mind if someone passes me over for another voice actor. There's plenty of work for everybody. And as long as
you're actually, you and I are actually members of a community that includes voice actors, writers, and a bunch of other creative types. So a good chance one of them might be the right fit if you're not.
It's true. So. Yeah, totally. But reach out, ask the questions, make the contacts, and
and of course, also feel free to reach out with questions you might have in the comments down below. We love to hear what your questions are, your feedback, and it also really helps us in the algorithm to have that engagement. Give us a like. If you're following us on Rumble, give us a follow. If you're on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. And this has been the Radiant Business Podcast. It's Jason, guest starring Salathiel Reagan. And remember, you're awesome. So shine your awesomeness for the world to see and hear. Bye for now.